it's Elizabeth here, and I want to talk in this video about what causes conflict on project teams. I did my own, I'm sure you've got your own views on this, I did my own research on this. Back in 2012, I gave a presentation on conflict in project teams to a room full of people, and I did a very unscientific survey. We all wrote down the things that we thought caused conflict on project teams, and I collated all the results, basically. So very small sample size, but quite a broad range of experience and skill sets in the room. So it felt like we were getting an insight into the brains of project managers and what keeps them up at night about conflict in project teams. So let me tell you what the results of that were. I mean, there were obviously some of the things that stood out massively, but really it was a real mixed bag of results. So the majority of people, well, 28% of people said that conflicts come from within the team, so personnel types of conflicts, and that is over a quarter of the type of conflict that you may well see is basically just the people stuff, working together, other people. So things that might fall into that bucket, some of the more extra detail that people added, were things like lack of clarity about roles, personality clashes on the team, people's egos, people not prepared to say, actually I was wrong, and lack of respect for each other. So those are the kind of things that you could potentially see as causing trouble on your project team. If you can take those out and create a team culture where you are respectful, where ego doesn't get into the way, where people are trusting of each other, where you have the ability to define work, allocate tasks, people take tasks themselves, people are available to do the work, you will massively reduce the amount of conflict on your team because you will have a strong, cohesive unit that is prepared to do the work. So that's the major cause of conflict from my mini survey. The next biggest thing that people flagged as a cause of conflict was lack of strategic direction and leadership, poor leadership. 14% of people said that lack of strategic direction was a problem on their projects. Unsurprising, really, because if you don't have a strong sponsor who can champion your project, if you don't really know what it is your project is supposed to be doing, if the leadership isn't there, then that's going to cause you problems. You can't necessarily work in those situations, or at least not work effectively. 12% of people said poor communication was an issue. Misunderstanding, poor communication, miscommunication, all of those things cause conflict because, to give you an example of a situation I was in a long time ago now, but I still remember it, I was working on one version of a document, there was another version of the document in circulation, somebody else was working on, between it we were updating the wrong versions, then we had to do more work to bring the two versions together. Would have been prevented with version control, and it was not the cause of a massive conflict, but it was the cause of a massive waste of time. And that builds resentment. You get those team problems then of why did she not do what she was supposed to do, and how come I didn't get the right information and all this stuff. So even small things like that can be resolved with good processes, decent housekeeping. It's basic stuff. Budget issues and responses to change both took 9% of the pie. So budget issues cause conflict. Money always does, doesn't it? I'm surprised it's not higher. And then responses to change took 9% as well. And things that fall into that bucket are things like, oh, I don't want to change, I'm not interested in learning this new system. People who are not keen on receiving the benefits, in inverted commas, of your project are perhaps people who are going to cause problems and conflict on your team or in your stakeholder community. Then there was a massive group that I couldn't categorise that I put into a bucket called other, and about a third of the results, 30%, fell into that. And there were lots of different themes from timescales being too aggressive, there not being any benefits on the project, so people not wanting to work on it, not wanting to engage with it because it wasn't going to deliver anything of value. Lack of knowledge, so people not having the skills to do the work and that causing conflict. No project management structure in place, which caused a conflict, an organisational conflict if you like, between the working practices of the team and the working level of maturity of the organisation. Requirements being difficult to understand or not being there at all, and customer expectations are a massive thing. So what we've looked at, that you can see there from that broad range of examples from a very small sample size, that conflict can happen across lots of different areas on a project and be caused by lots of different things. So start thinking now about the flashpoints that you might have on your project. Think about the team personalities you've got that might create conflict in the future on your project. If they're not creating it now, perhaps they are and you just haven't noticed. What we'll look at in a subsequent video is the ways that what you should be looking out for, and then some strategies for dealing with how to manage conflict effectively on your team. So hopefully that's been useful today, at least giving you some pointers of where to look and the kind of things that you might come across as a project manager. And I'll see you in my next video. Bye.